In a mall in Saskatoon, I saw something I hadn't expected. People sleeping near the entrances of abandoned shops, others standing at intersections holding signs, asking for money with their children beside them. The poverty, the desperation in their eyes, it was heartbreaking. I didn't film it. I wasn't going to turn that into a spectacle. But it stayed with me long after I left, and it unsettled the romantic version of Canada I had been carrying in my head. Big Fella and I had already crossed the mountains to get here. British Columbia felt wild. Alberta felt endless. But out on the prairies, something shifted. I used to tell stories like this. I used to try and explain everything while it was happening, talking to the camera just to fill the silence. Like, if I said enough words, it would make the journey mean something. I would mean something. But I don't trust that version anymore, so I'm doing it differently. I drove north after Saskatoon. I wanted to get away from that as far as I could. Up to Grand Rapids in Manitoba. I didn't do much there. I pulled up for the night, walked down to the edge of the lake and just stood there. Water stretching out in front of me and the sky folded into it. No traffic, no noise, just space. Space to breathe. Feeling restless, the road pulled me south again. Straight lines, flat land that seemed to go on forever. Fuel stop after fuel stop, coffee after coffee, and wind against the side of the van. And eventually, Winnipeg.
And here we are in Winnipeg. Winnipeg, I don't know.
By the time I reached Winnipeg, I thought I understood what I'd seen. I didn't. How could I? Since I've still not seen any wildlife, I made my way to the Manitoba Museum. History arranged behind glass. Moose, bears, and wildcats all frozen mid-journey. Prairie towns rebuilt in careful detail. Everything labelled, contained, explained. Inside, the past felt ordered. Outside, reality wasn't. When I got back behind the wheel, the road felt different. The steering wheel was still on the opposite side, traffic still flowed against my instincts, and every turn demanded my attention. But something heavier was riding along with me now. I wasn't just driving east. I felt like I was running away. I had helped where I could, but I still felt like I was leaving people behind. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. Ontario opened up quietly. I avoided the Trans-Canada Highway where I could, taking all the back roads instead. Then the water changed. It stopped feeling like a lake. It felt endless. Waves rolled in. Freshwater with waves? As an Australian, we associate waves belonging to the beach. They mean salt and surf, fish and chips with vinegar and a cold beer. Seeing them here bent something in my head. I felt smaller, and somehow that anchored me. I stood there a while longer, hands in my pockets, watching the water do its thing. When it finally turned back to Big Fella, the wind followed me to the driver's door, like it still had something it wanted to say. The road didn't give answers, it just gave me distance. And somewhere between the water and the next town, the questions shift from what I was seeing to what I was avoiding. You know, I'd never been much of a reader. Sure as heck never thought of myself as a writer either. But my imagination had been busy my whole life.
Well, it's raining on me, and I've still got 100 meters to run back to the camper van. You might think, why am I wanting to run back to the camper van? Well, the lightning and the thunder is almost directly above me. So I always get nervous running past trees that look like lightning rods in a thunderstorm. If you see this video, you know I made it. If you don't, well, you'll never know because you won't see this video.
Stories I never told anyone. Scenes that played out in my head and just stayed there. When I was back in Australia, I'd started putting one of them on paper. Then I left for this trip. But I left the manuscript behind. Maybe it felt safer that way. Safer to imagine something than to expose it. And if I'm honest, the idea of being a published author, well, that was exciting. Yes, even my ego gets a vote sometimes. But standing on the edge of that water, watching freshwater waves roll in like they belonged to the ocean, I realised something. Fear doesn't always shout and scream. Sometimes it just convinces you to wait. But I didn't want to wait anymore. So I began writing the story again. The Order of the Hidden Cross. I wrote it not because I felt ready, because I was done letting fear decide what stayed hidden. While the pages weren't in my hands, they were back in Australia, they certainly were in the van with me. Every kilometre after that felt connected to them, like the road was quietly dragging the story back into the light. Somewhere along the way, I stopped on St. Joseph Island, and I came across an old house that had weathered wood exterior. It looked abandoned and full of tales. Locals had decorated for Halloween. Cobwebs layered over something already eerie. Skeletons, ghosts and ghouls adorned the yard and pumpkins everywhere. I didn't need to go inside. Didn't seem right. I took a step back, let the place keep its secrets, and walked away. The van was waiting, and so was the road. Some days you just keep moving because standing still starts to feel a little dangerous. After a while, I stopped in London, Ontario. By this point, I'd already met a few creators along the way. Chrome from Van City Van Life, Matthew from Van Life Plus, and Amber from Happy Coffee Van Life, and many more. People I'd only known through the screen. Ray from the Stingray Trails was another one of these names. We met for lunch, in simple conversation, and it struck me. I'd travelled across the world and then across this country to sit at a table with someone who had only ever existed digitally before that. Well, to me anyway. It didn't feel like networking. It felt like recognition, like I'd been seen. The internet makes the world feel small, but the road makes it real. Then I drove on, still east. I heard it before I saw it. A low thunder rolling through the air. Water throwing itself over the edge with complete commitment. Mist hanging heavy in the air. Even with the crowds gathering along the railings, I still felt insignificant in front of it. Niagara Falls.
Here it comes again.
A few streets back, the tone changed. Bright lights, neon signs, arcades and rides. I had to do it. I had to climb into a go-kart. Engine buzzing, tyres gripping the painted track. And for a few minutes, it wasn't about reflection. It was all about the speed, laughter and movement. Niagara was the force at the edge of the world, and Carnival just around the corner.
I really should have brought my stickers with me.
Stick a few stickers around. With this lady up there now. And it's her birthday today. And she lives nearby. But this is apparently her favourite place to come. So to treat herself, she's come down on this particular walk on her birthday just to celebrate her birthday. And that's really special. It says a lot about someone who has the self-confidence to take care of themselves and not rely on other people to take care of you. When it's your birthday, you'd expect other people to be going, oh look, let's go out to dinner or whatever, but she's taken her own birthday on board and doing her own thing. Good on her. I don't know how long this walk goes for, but I don't think it's a very long walk.
When I left, The noise faded behind me. The road thickened, more cars, more lanes and more urgency. The skyline rose out of the distance, glass catching light, steel stacked into neat boxes. Toronto didn't announce itself loudly. It simply appeared, layer by layer, until I was inside it. Traffic tightened, buildings climbing higher, and the horizon, well, disappeared. I parked, stepped out, looked up. The Toronto Tower cut straight into the sky. I'd seen it in photographs before. It looked simple from a distance. Up close, it felt different. I took the lift, glass walls, the world was shrinking beneath me. And then the glass floor. The ground visible far below. Steel and glass replacing trees and lakes. My body reacted before my brain did. Logic said it was safe. My legs didn't agree. For a moment, I hovered. The fear was real, honest, and immediate. After taking a deep breath, I stepped onto it. I walked right over it. Fear be damned. Living in fear means you miss out on living. When I climbed back into Big Fella afterwards, the door shutting had a sound to it, the sound of relief. My tiny room on wheels waiting exactly where I left it. I'd even picked up a parking ticket for my effort. Freedom apparently still comes at a cost. Further east, the texture shifted, and then Montreal opened up in front of me. Stone instead of steel. Cobblestones underfoot. Balconies with ironwork curling like seductive handwriting. Architecture so grand you didn't have a choice but to look up. And then there's the food that demanded your full attention.
Give this thing a go.
Bread that tore open with steam. Butter soft enough to surrender without a fight. And coffee strong enough to wake the dead. And the language. Oh my God, the language. I didn't understand any of it. But it didn't adjust itself for me. It didn't slow down. It simply existed as it was. French, confident, and unapologetic. And somewhere in all of that certainty, something settled in me. Saskatoon had rattled me. The lakes had humbled me. The tower tested me. But Montreal felt sure of itself. And standing in a place that felt that certain, I realized I didn't have to apologize for the life I was building either. Permission didn't arrive as I expected. For the first time in a long time, I heard a voice in my head say, You don't need to explain yourself. Big fella was still parked somewhere behind me. Thankfully, no ticket this time. 4 wheels, 4 walls, a horizon that doesn't ask for permission. Sure, fear travelled with me the entire way. It probably always will. The difference now is, it doesn't get to decide for me.